Shirley here with Sirius Talis Moon, and the midheaven was just crossing Deneb Algiri. Jupiter hour, Moon is 12 degrees Leo, and squaring the Sun, applying to square the Sun, separating from trine to Mars and the Mercury. Sun is 19 degrees Scorpio, and here is something that I received during this Saturn hour. So shout out to Threads of Fate. And I like during Saturn hour, other than brush my teeth and ponder about how to best clean my toothbrush. I think I told this story. I bought this very expensive toothbrush that is electric, and it's really cool, but I had to complement it with the wooden brush. And so, but I definitely learned to put the toothpasta and the brush right next to my bed, so that I will have, what is this? So that I will have the ability to really tune in and oh no, there was also something I wanted to release, but here. And tend to brushing my teeth when I'm well rested. Also when I'm not standing on my feet, because it's difficult for me to stand. And so for people that have some sort of disability, it's very important to adjust the environment to be fit to what we want to do. Also when we are entrepreneurial. We can see, for example, how in supermarkets all the stuff that the children would bitch their parents about are really next to the cashier. And that's something we learned in marketing quite early on. So I'm going to upload this episode. And this is where actually this is a good one. Granted that I don't have a lotus picture right now. And this is where I saw there was somebody that was coming from a timeline of really hatred towards women. And I said people can feel emotions. This is normal. Let's say a woman that was hurt by a man, she can feel hatred towards men. And, that's something to either look into oneself too, or to talk about. If there is like a big, if men are being red-pilled and they act weird, that is undermining themselves and women, I don't know, maybe start a podcast or do something active about that. But here is the thing. When it came from acting on the hatred to women, not to change the thing that they don't like, okay, let's say that person had a trauma from women or something, so they could talk about, they could do something that is alleviating trauma from women. But if what they do is to traumatize women, they create themselves trauma, and they wanted to rape, and they wanted to create an accident, and they wanted to harm. And they basically began to create this for themselves. And then they began to bitch about the fact that they are creating this for themselves is not the fault of the women. They know that they hate women, but they acted on this hatred. And here's the thing. They acted on this hatred, okay? And they usually will act on this hatred against women that have nothing against men. And this is the thing. Think about it when they act. What does it force the women to do? To purge them. Okay, to purge their energies, to purge everything. A purgatory. A purgatory of these energies. Now, all of the things that they wanted to send to women, they create for themselves. They wanted the women to create disaster for themselves. It wasn't working. So they tried to do rituals to create disasters for women. And then they would meet disaster after disaster that they themselves created. Light saw this morning as somebody that was trying to create an accident for some woman. And he was creating for them himself a scenario where he would be in an accident. What's happening? Jupiter squaring Chiron and Mars. Is it Uranus opposing Lilith? I don't know. Like, there's nothing really impressive going on in the sky right now. Somebody was trying to be rapey and they got all that they wanted to send back to the sender. They were trying to molest someone in the dream state, and all that they got is a purgatory of all of the threats and traumas, purification, where they would have to confront their psychosexual traumas that to begin with got them to treat women in this way. Because somebody is trying to force themselves on a woman. Force their plans on women to subjugate women. And there is a purgatory of this timeline. Now, even the women that participated in those things are being purged. The women that participated in raping women and subjugation of women, of trafficking of women, these women are being purged. There is a witnessing of these timelines being purged. And the more that people try to coerce the timeline of subjugation of women, this is Uranus, this is Uranus-Venus, the more women uprise. And the more those who try to subjugate women undermine themselves. And really, I don't know. Now, hatred of women, it can come from people that have traumas, that have this, that have that. Okay, but that they act on this hatred on women that did nothing to them but existing. Over nothing. You know, is trying to create karma where there is no karma. Okay, a woman walks around. She observes men. She's done her own like shadow work, this, that, that. She will not take her, how should I say that? She doesn't act to subjugate men. She doesn't act to emasculate men. She's just there. If she doesn't vibe with you, she'll just move on. The only time you'll ever meet her is if you're doing or planning something that would harm her. Social credit score? Okay. What about women's rights? Real estate consolidation? Fantastic. What about a woman's right to live in a place where she's safe and free? And this is where it's taking a person that has nothing against men at all. Not only, even when there are conflicts, is like, but this is so irrational. Because if someone is gay, then he can, like, then women are not of interest to them. And if someone is straight, then, you know, like, their interest is to find someone that wants them. My interest is to find someone that wants me and I want them. There is no conflict. Okay, it's all invented. There's no actual conflict. And then a person trying to go into that and create imagery of conflict when there isn't. And now they're filled with hatred, filled with this, filled with that, and being a hater and acting on being a hater. Now normally, if person evokes something within person, let's say, I don't know, if I walk around and somebody evokes something within me, first of all, what I would do would get away from them. Then maybe I would think to myself, what is it that they evoke in me and why? Now, sometimes it'll be, okay, discussed. Why? Because they have energy of someone who molests. Okay, then I'll stay away from them. It doesn't mean that everybody who molests, I will identify them. And I'm not going to begin to say, yeah, this person molests children. Maybe it does, maybe it reminds me of someone who molests children. Now, hey, let's admit it. These men that marry 12 years old or that go, I'm sorry, to Thailand to rape children, they emit bad energy, you know. Sometimes it's not visible. Some people it would go under the radar, you know. What can I say? It's not, but you know, they. So to walk around them, to work around them, to live around them, is bad energy. Just like, you know, if a woman, I don't know, carries baggage around about men, okay, there would be something in her energy that would be kind of like some men will need to take space from her even, and that's normal. And then that woman would go and do shadow work and this and that and so on and connect with herself and approach trauma, fantastic. And then people would try to surround her to not ever, because they want her life energy. and to not ever allow her to be in a place that is actually loving and honoring, then what do they expect to happen? If not for their entire society to be genocided, exiled, not even colonized, demolished. Because what they invest their energy in, trying to surround the person, isolate them, and create atmosphere that is not pleasant around them. What did they think would happen? And those energy of such hatred over nothing, really over nothing. Like, if they would not harm women, there would not be any reason to hate on these particular women that I'm getting the thread of. It's not even, you see, there's some women that have baggage on men and they begin to, I'm sorry, go with that baggage and so. And some women are not like that at all. If there's something evoked, they would look within. And then they would actually see the truth. Because it's like, hey, why does this man evoke disgust in me? I don't know this person. He did nothing wrong to me. What is happening? Oh, they have this energy. They go and molest children. Oh, the human traffickers. Of course, it's disgusting. No, it doesn't mean that every person that does that would evoke this energy, and it doesn't mean that every person would evoke disgust just because of that. Maybe they just remind of someone that does that. And normally women would say, okay, I would go to elsewhere. What happens when there is a community of people like that? It's disgusting to live among this community. Particularly when the residues of that come into being, when they commodify people or intimacy. When they do rituals to harvest energy from women and then wonder why the woman feels something is missing, so she try maybe to buy new perfume, maybe to buy new clothes, to try and embellish her own connection to her own self, to reconnect with her own essence. And maybe this scent, or maybe this fabric, or maybe. And then they're like, oh, women are gold diggers. No, they're not. Don't do rituals to subjugate women, and you will have natural essence of femininity around you. And then when those women look, if those women not in relationship then they don't look at these men, because these men are not interesting. These men are energy harvesting and not men that one can be themselves around. And I don't know why we're meeting like the lowest frequency of men. And usually it happens because the earth is liberating itself from those frequencies. And here the purgatory in Scorpio is purgatory to the core. Every single cell is purging those lower frequencies of men who subjugate women. This is also what Lilith is doing at the end of Scorpio. And as these, now what happens when we're doing a purgatory, and when I learned aromatherapy about cleaning pimples, okay, this is for people around their 40 that suddenly have pimples. I don't have it, but people that have it, it's because it's Rao maturation. I learned from Ernst Wilhelm that Rao rules the skin, and around Rao maturation, people will have like a second teenage type of time, and the people that are getting comfortable to be in their own skin, they could grow pimples. And when you holistically treat pimples, in the beginning there are more pimples. Why? Because it draws out all the. How did light say? People thought that just a little bit would be drawing out, but all the thread from underneath is being drawn out. And light was so spot on that light on YouTube. She's so meticulous and detailed when she describes these trajectories. Now there's a nervous system, because when I was talking about granite, Lars Royman was writing something with that. And then, when I was thinking about something's not lightweight, then Light was talking about that. And now here's the thing, when the purgatory is happening, it's like all the pimples that are coming out is all these energies of men, and all their hidden hatred is coming to be purged. Because they confront their psychosexual problems. You see, I talked about malachite being so important stone. Such an important stone for this time. Because malachite is absorbing energy. And this is energy of, malachite is protective in the sense that it absorbs all the dark energy to itself, so it forces people to go to the existential crisis. And then everything comes out to the surface. If somebody, I'm sorry, but if somebody tries to violate sexually someone, or to go into the dream state and force them to have an erotic dream or whatnot, then they expose their own erotic unconscious and psychosexual issues to that person. Which later that person would need to further go through the purgatory, and now even more, because there was perhaps an act of trying to take control over a situation, and what it created is even more is being discovered, even more is being purged, even more is going through the purgatory. And the more somebody is going to trying to control, the more they're going through this existential crisis. Because it's being exposed that they were trying to be a handler, not a lover. They were trying to have everything under their control, which is antithetical to love. And here is the thing, in Scorpio, it's to be transmuted. It's not about shame and blame. There's a reason why people are control freaks and so on and so on. Fantastic. Scorpio goes through the crisis of transmutation. It doesn't shame and blame you for being control freak. It's just gently telling you, like the Malachite, ready or not, your control freakiness is about to be transmuted. Because as you act to try to force someone to be under your erotic control, some people even project it onto others, and it's not necessarily the truth. But when somebody is authentically trying to force someone to be under their erotic control, it's erotic programming, okay? Then they are going to pull the thread from underneath you of why you're even doing that, because they need to purge the part in that eroticism that was polluting the water. It's not about shame and blame. Think about a mother and baby. Baby comes to playing in the yard, and they have the digs, the earth, the soil, and so on and so on. Then the mother prepares a bath. Okay, and it's a soapy bath. She makes sure the water is the right temperature. She submerges that baby in that bath, not foolish, not choking him or drowning him. But the thing is that she's gonna take all the dirt from that baby. Like, I'm 41. I did not have children. The reason is I know when that baby is playing in the soil for them to get healthy and have immune system and the joy of living experience and so on. I know that baby needs to go later into that bath with that natural soap and so on and so forth and have every bit of dirt. Okay, and wash until the water is clear. Anybody would say, I do my laundry by hand because I don't have laundry machine for several years now. And anybody will see me doing the laundry when I'm actually into that, cleanliness thingy. It's washing until the water is clear. That's Scorpio. Not from, and not with shame, blame, or anger. Is baptizing the soul of, if it's a clothes, let's say it's a shirt, it's baptizing the soul of the shirt until the water is clear, not because the shirt is dirty, but because from that wash only the soul of the purified essence of that shirt is coming out through that Scorpio season and is free to go to the crusades of Sag. Now, some people don't sustain the purgatory, particularly those that try to force themselves on another. Now, authenticity and Scorpio will find where this thing is coming from. I talked about Malachite. Now, this is where All the threads are being pulled from underneath, and everybody deals with everything in regarding to the planets in Scorpio. That's Lilith, that's the Sun, that's Venus. So relation, personality, and sexual sovereignty. Venus is also ruling Uranus at the end of Taurus. And I was just watching the third decan of Taurus by Threads of Fate. I'm midway into watching. I don't have any gnosis right now. It's the decan of balancing spirit and matter. But this is also where the boundaries have been profoundly set. Somebody was loudly speaking about buying shawarma, and they say they have 1 gram, and they didn't mention of what. I don't know if they meant a gram or the thing that gram or grar. The grar is the thing that pulls the V. I hope that I really don't know what to hope for, because one would be that they would need to drag some car, and the other would mean that they would share a gram of drugs. both are both are meticulously despairing. Both possibilities are equally horrid, I think. Or not, I don't know. I remember when I was with my mom in Paris, so we parked the car and we walked for 2 hours and then another extra hour to find the car, only to find out that we had to pay, I think, 200 euros. and and it was after walking 3-4 hours in Paris that we found out about that. And so I don't know how we got to even park in a place that was not really that. Definitely we learned from the experience. So I do have Saturn in the ninth house. Okay, so imagine walking 3-4 hours and then it's like really tired, exhausted, falling from our feet, and where is the car? And it's in French, and we. So, yeah. Now, here is the thing. For those people that can't see a woman happy alone, how do they expect a woman to be happy with them? And how do they expect to be happy with a woman? Because if a woman is not happy alone, they will be the sole responsible for how she feels, which means that when she feels unhappy, she will always blame the man. How can mother and daughter travel all of Europe without anybody trafficking anybody? Good morning. Can they do that without a man? Well, nothing against men. If a man is honoring of a woman, then they can do it with the man. But if a man is not honoring of a woman, or if there's no compatibility and people divorce like shit happens, they don't have to drag each other around. Now here is the purgatory. Everything, including everything, regarding the planet that is going through Scorpio is to be purged from the core. It's the well water. So this is a complete journey of transmutation, where everything comes out to the surface. And people may ask, when will it be done? When will it be over? When the water is clear. Do they want to take that planet to Sagittarius when the water is not clear? Sagittarius is the expanding fire. Mm-hmm. Now, Mars is already in Sagittarius, so there is an expanding fire of purgatory, of all that is not sexually sovereign, all that is bothering a person from having their own authentic personality sun. And all relationships that are not authentic. And with Scorpio, there is a psychosexual element. There can be severing of the ties of relationships that are not authentic at this Venus season. But it's an expanding fire, and this is because Jupiter Procyon is looking inwards. What in our beliefs needs to be purged to have a clear water, clear nourishment? It's not an easy process because it's an emotional process. And it's the emotions that are of purgatory nature. But here is the thing, it's still a Mars sign. If people try to create a physical harm to another person over nothing, this might be a cataclysm. What's cataclysm? Large scale disaster. Violent event that causes great destruction, major flood, earthquake, or war. Physical upheaval, momentous event result in violent and overwhelming change. Sudden violent physical action that drastically changes the Earth's surface. Okay, if I try to think about the cataclysm in my life, I was seeing psychologists that would be of MK Ultra, and I did not know it, and I nearly broke my feet on the way to a meeting. And they said, and I was using crystal on my feet, And it was so painful that I couldn't arrive. I think I was at the meeting and then I couldn't arrive at the next meeting. And I knew holistically that something around where I was going, okay, that created a cataclysm. It's like the body itself protected me from going there. But the issue was that the trouble were also in the place where I was living because of those women hatred societies. Now there is also something where people try to create a harmful trajectory to someone and then having to carry the results or the implications. Okay, think about people that try to make women despair of going to work. These women will not be housewives. They need ability to have everything: housing, clothing, traveling, time, a spa, luxury, without work and without being dependent on a man. So how will it happen? How can such a thing happen? Well, they are entitled to lifelong compensation from the regimes that were enacting the policies that enabled subjugating women. If they created working environment that is uninviting for women, so that women will not be at the work. So now everything that they create is not appreciated because they didn't honor sexual sovereignty. But I created this thing and this thing and this thing. Yeah, but you pushed women away and tried to harvest on their life creation to plagiarize their ideas. And they want to be appreciated. How will you be appreciated if you violate sexual sovereignty? It's non-negotiable. And those threads are being purged. And this is where people begin to see, I remember when I looked at financial freedom and I said I'm going to take financial responsibility and learn how money works. What is trust fund? Trust? But what do you mean trust? How do they trust the extortion, called wealth consolidation, trafficking children, torturing children, ritual abuse of children, programming children for wealth consolidation on rare earth minerals, putting that under trust funds, and then the next generation, only if they continue to do the same extortion code, they in the same line of business that they always have to have a line of business that's written under someone that's a legit business, but they trafficked and laundered the money through that. This is why there's no jobs. This is why people are being mistreated at the workplace. Men and women. Oops! Shirley learned about financial freedom. Nothing. I took responsibility over learning how money works. Oh, Shirley, why don't you have children? Okay, why really I don't have children? Is it because I don't want children? Is it because I have no energy to raise children? Is it because I'm not supposed to raise children? Is it because I have no money? Okay, then how do I make sure that this choice will be a choice and not something enforced upon me? I have to turn to financial freedom. I have to look into what am I passionate about, what is my creative spark. Oh, to grow a business is like to grow a baby. Oh no, I really need to tend to my fertility. Oh, wait a second. The entire medical field to do with the fifth vital sign is absolutely inaccurate and incompatible to the unit of analysis. A fraction of a millisecond before COVID or during COVID. What happened? Shirley tended to the question of why doesn't Shirley have children? The society pressured, the society asked, and here is something where why don't people want to work? Okay, why don't I want to work? What are the traumas that I had around workplaces? Because I want to make something that is of value and be appreciated and compensated also fiscally and in terms of resources. What are the traumas that I have around this, whether in the ancestry, in the previous workplaces, well, everything was made around slavery, and of course my body repelled that because they were trying to prepare people to be trafficked for ages and centuries and decades. So they didn't have chairs where there's no reason for a person not to have a chair. There's no reason for the barista not to have a chair because they prepared for the person who's doing the barista in a couple of decades to be in the street trafficked, men or women. And the people that wanted chairs, they're a danger to society because they are sovereign. So what? No, they don't want to work, they make problems. And now is purgatory, is big megalithic purgatory. It's a cataclysm for those who wanted to create disasters for women. And everything that they don't to gain from that, there's going to be a megalithic collateral collapse. Because they're going to be purged from the earth. Mass death, mass death, mass death, bones upon bones of the graves of the rapists. This is Uranus in Taurus. This is Uranus in Taurus. Their seeds, their lineage is going, their bloodline is going to be wiped out the face of the earth, regardless of religion and origin. This is the purgatory of Scorpio. And they try to resist this fate by trying to be more oppressive. Doesn't work. It's not an ego death. It's a lineage death. Entire lineages of rapists die. And no matter how much they try to mold the energy, the very investment in trying to take from the life energy is turning mass deaths out of the people that do that. What is right? Human rights is Mars. Men that want human rights, do they subjugate the rights of other people, men or women? And all of the hatred is being seen now in clarity of how much they hate women. Now, here's the thing. They can hate women. They can have their own inner work with how they feel about women. People can have, people had traumas, people had this, but they try to act on this hatred and cause harm to women. That's why they've been purged from the water of the well. And they've been washed, and the earth is washed and washed until the water is clear. It doesn't have to be death. Okay? Nobody has to die. But for that, they need to not take their anger on women. And it doesn't matter if they develop technologies to do that or if they do it themselves. The frequencies and energies and the technologies are gonna die with the fluid. And when they try to take an energy and have their trajectory into that energy, even more of that thread is being pulled from the roots, from the root of the root of evil. It's being pulled to be purged from the root of evil, being purged from the earth and being washed by the water until the water is clear. And here's the thing, they want, when will these women be done talking? When will these women be done being? When will these women be? Nobody's talking to you. Why do you listen? Because you're the one that tried to harm a woman and see what will she broadcast, what would she say, what would she put out there to see if your black magic worked. So you will have a lot of time waiting only to find out that it's your own life that are being harmed by trying to put this magic on women or these actions on women. And here is the thing, they try to shift, to try to mirror their own, to make it look like it's a reflection. It's not a reflection. They try to look like their nature is a reflection of the person that is speaking when it's wrong. Scorpio deals with what is the nature of something. You see, an animal whose nature is to predate on another animal doesn't hate on that animal. This rage is not about predatory rage. You know, it's like the men that they went with the women, let's say to Europe. And the women found a job and got, promoted and lived their lives. And the men who felt completely lost because they were the patriarch and they would beat the wife and they didn't learn skills of communication with women. And so they didn't feel, and who benefited from that? The men that learned how to communicate with women, how to have healthy relations, that they weren't red-pilled. And so these men, they try to keep women isolated so none of these men can see those women. And then what? No, and then what? This woman will not want you. She grew out of you. Even not, to begin with, she wasn't on your trajectory. Because you weren't honoring women. You weren't honoring sexual sovereignty. You try to do warlocky stuff on women. Good morning, women are not witches here to be your succubus. They have a life of their own. What, the imams that raped young girls at 12 and called it marriage and did it under guise of Islam, they didn't know that it's wrong? They knew it was severely wrong. That now nobody respects Islam in Somalia because all they can think of is this Islam, the imams saying, but we go by Islam, but we go by Islam when the government forbids them to rape 12 years old girls. Nobody sees them as respect to sovereignty. Nobody sees their verdicts about in the spirit of Islam as even true. It's like either there is